This week we're back with another Armenian Business Ladies video for the series, and we're going to be talking about women in aerospace industry. If you're curious to know who my guest is, well, keep on watching. When love comes in. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Alice. You're watching on LeLifestyle, and this week's Armenian Business Lady is Anna Sakzlyan. Hi, Anna.
Hello.
How's it going?
Going well. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here today with us because we're going to go into an industry that I personally have no idea about. So I'm excited to learn so much from you today, and maybe inspire some little girls out there to go into different industries where they're uncomfortable in probably right now. But first, guys, we got our coffees, we got our teas, waters. So let's get talking. So on LeLifestyle, we talk about money, mindset, book reviews. And if you like all those topics, then click the like button below and subscribe because we post videos every Wednesday. All right, we got beautiful Anna with us today. And I just really want to know, first and foremost, with everyone else, we want to know who you are, what's your background, where are you from? Give us all the good deeds.
Sure. So I grew up in Orange County, and then I came to LA for UCLA, and I loved it here. There's a bigger population of Armenians, so that definitely played a role in me wanting to stay. And ever since, I've been in Los Angeles. Again, still love it here. Haven't gotten sick of it just yet. Traveled quite a bit. I had to get that done during my early 20s. And now I do love my job in the aerospace field. I'm a proposal manager in the business development sector. And I'm happy to talk more about that. So I'm sure we'll get into that later. But I'm also in a place in my career where I have the time and flexibility to dab into other arenas that I'm really in love with, especially because now during COVID, we're working from home. So that gives me a lot more flexibility with my time. So again, I'm happy to discuss that part of myself too. So I'm just so happy that you're doing this because we need this outlet for younger Armenian women to listen to other professionals out there that have lived it and done it and made mistakes, and maybe you could learn from our mistakes and be a better version for the next generation. So thank you so much for hosting this.
Yes, thank you so much for agreeing to come on here. And I am so curious to first find out, how did you get into aerospace?
Well, that's a funny story. So at UCLA, there's this thing, and the reason why I tell these stories is because one thing I really want to project out on this podcast is that opportunities will come if you try. Just put out as many things you can out there, open as many doors as possible, because at least one of those doors is going to be amazing and life-changing. So try to open as many doors as possible. So for me, I was applying for everything and anything I could see at UCLA. And for one of them, I applied for a startup program, which funded students to go travel to Russia and work on their startup with a team. And I had an idea in one of my classes. It was a pitch deck, and you had to come up with an idea in your field of study, which one of my fields of study was psychology. And you had to pitch to the class. And if they liked it, they funded it with pretend money. And mine ended up winning most funded project. Now, I guess some people really like this idea, and it was in virtual reality. So it was virtual reality for rehabilitation. I called it VTR. And it was for people in hospitals who needed rehabilitation physically and mentally with the use of virtual reality. So trying to make this long story short, I applied for this program, got it, took two of my friends who were also in similar fields out to Russia, and we started the startup program. It didn't quite work out because I was in over my head. Getting into the VR world is very difficult. And even now, we haven't really exposed as much as we can with regards to physical or mental rehabilitation in the VR world. So I had to let that go, but I still wanted to be in a field where we're engineering new devices. So I worked at another company that dealt with NASA in that industry. And then eventually I came here where we design ESM systems. They go on submarines, and it's a new technology that not a lot of other companies have. And I get to work with an amazing team of professionals and still get to do what I love. So that's kind of the trajectory that led me into aerospace.
That is so cool. And maybe we'll do a side note on you living in Russia.
Yeah, no problem.
So before we get into that, you mentioned like going into the startup project when you were in university at UCLA, but was there ever that mindset that, oh, I might have, or I might want to go into business one day, or was it like just like a university project that you just felt like doing?
Yeah, ever since I was a kid, I was the kid with the lemonade stand trying to see how we could hike up prices and have the prettiest, label out in front to attract people, and which street made the most sense, which street was getting most traffic to put our lemonade stand on. But I always loved that stuff. Like that was definitely my jam. And if UCLA had a business major, I would have probably done that. But psychology, I knew was very heavily integrated into the business world, and heavily integrated in so many other fields like being a doctor, a lawyer, etc. So I went that way. But that entrepreneurship mindset, I think a lot of Armenians could speak to that too. We definitely love running our own ship, and that's always kind of been inside for sure.
Was this something you were taught, or you felt like it was something you just had in you?
Absolutely not taught because I don't know if others can speak to this, but growing up an Armenian woman, Armenian girl, there was not really much emphasis on, oh, pay attention to how much money you can make in the future and owning your own business. And nothing really like that was ever. I
Yeah,
think.
same here. I was always telling my parents, I'm gonna have my own business. I'm gonna be my own boss. I'm gonna be a millionaire, this and that. And
Nice.
they always told me, yeah, okay, just make sure you graduate, make sure you get a good job.
Get married, have kids.
Yeah, married, and we'll see. Maybe your husband will be rich, and you'll be rich through him. I'm like, mm-mm.
Their minds have changed a lot. Like obviously, I think again, and they always encouraged me, but I just think there just wasn't that level of expectation there that an Armenian girl is going to go into aerospace or go and make her own business or anything like that. So
Yeah, I think it's more like they see us as their little girl who they need to protect and make sure that she's in a safe and secure environment and not in risky
not in
places.
Russia, working on a startup.
Yeah, so okay, let's get into that. How is it living in Russia?
I'd been there before, and I actually have family in Russia, so I do love it. And we were in the most beautiful place, St. Petersburg. So we got really lucky, and it was in the summertime. So it was white nights. It didn't really even get dark in August. And we had an unlimited food budget, but Russia isn't very well known for their food. But that's just the fun side of it. Um, I loved it. Why Russia? I'm not quite sure, but actually I am kind of sure. They had amazing tech schools there, specifically designed to help students with their startups. So there's a bunch of people, a bunch of kids who had brilliant ideas. Like this was in 2014, and there was a group of kids who were figuring out how to monetize, how to take the monetization from other people who were using celebrities' videos on their YouTube channel to give a percentage of that to celebs. And so the school was helping them fund for their startup, and there was brilliant kids with awesome ideas. I say kids because they ranged from 18 to about 24, so around that range. So it was incredible. It was a great experience. It was a little over a month, so I wish it was longer. But again, I would have never known about this. All it took was a few searches on the UCLA website about random things going on. and I stumbled upon it completely by accident. No one told me about it, just Googling around. I was like, whatever, I'll send an application. The application took what, 30 minutes, and it completely changed my life. So keep opening doors. That'll be the theme of today.
Yes, that's so cool. I've never been to Russia and I don't have family there, but yeah, I love like living through people's stories. Do you think Armenia's tech industry and all these new, well, like the industry that we're most successful in right now, which is tech, do you think it was very much inspired or influenced by Russia, or it's just the way our knowledge is like?
I think there's just a huge need. I think Armenia looked around and knew that we're a little behind the curve. So, and we have such intelligent individuals, untapped potential in Armenia. And so I think they saw that they can make more of the talent and of the resources. So I love that Armenia is going into that space more, because I think we can really dive deep and go further.
Yes. Awesome. So tell us more about your current role.
So as a proposal manager, I get huge assignments essentially from our customers. And most of our customers are either defense, USG, US Navy, Air Force, and or other countries' governments that require these huge system, multi-million-dollar systems. And so other countries, have specific items like a specific submarine, for example, and they need this device to go on that submarine in a particular way. And what I do is I have a team of engineers, program managers, finance come together, and I get to pick my team, which is awesome, and work towards that goal that the customer has set out, that the customer requires. And all of these are government contracts, which again, huge, lot of money going through. And some of these projects take 2 weeks, some of them take 3 months, and they can range. And I love this position because I get to work with so many different fields of service, like finance, for example. And I'm not just into just one, and I have to oversee everything, oversee if this is what we're delivering to the customer is correct, perfect. All the writing, we work on white papers with the team. So it allows me to kind of tap into the entrepreneurship side of me, like as if I'm running my own ship, but it's with a corporation. So to all those who think if you work a 9-to-5 job, you won't get to do your own thing, that's absolutely untrue. I've worked with amazing bosses who trust me to do a great job, and especially if you win over their trust, they'll trust you to, even if you're young, they'll trust you to work with people twice your age and get the job done. So if you're an entrepreneur, I would suggest taking perhaps 2 years of your life, or early on, right after college, to work for a company to see the dynamics, to see the workflow, even, use resources. There's software that I know that if I have my own company, I'm totally using that software. And I would have never known that unless I kind of just worked a little bit. You don't have to stay there, just one year, 1.5 years perhaps. But it's possible to find a really great company with great opportunities.
Yes, so you're like explaining the whole topic of entrepreneur versus entrepreneur, which I think a lot of people don't know the difference or didn't know that entrepreneurship existed, which is exactly what you described. It's when someone has an entrepreneurial mindset, they know they want their own business, but not sure exactly what. They kind of know like the field. So that's exactly what you do. You go into a company, you start learning, but you always have that mindset where I'm not here for a long time. I'm just here to learn, grab what I need, and peace.
I ended up absolutely loving my job, and now I've created enough processes where it's kind of working itself out. And as we spoke earlier, I think that you only really need about 1.5 years anywhere. This is just me, but I typically get bored about 1.5 years. You have to keep me stimulated. So 1.5 years, if you're doing it right, you should know pretty much everything there's to know about your job in your
If
company.
employers were to to see this, they'd be like, Allison gets bored after 6 months.
There you go. Yeah. After I probably was already applying like 9 months into my position, especially with that's another thing you can leverage. And I'm trying to give out as much pieces of wisdom as I can. When you go to companies, you just keep applying to new ones. And guess what? Chances are you're going to be doubling, tripling your salary, continuously going to new companies. So that's another strategy. You don't typically stay at a company. Sometimes they do matches if you got an offer somewhere else. But the great thing with this industry is there's a lot of companies similar to mine. So I could definitely take my knowledge somewhere else. And if I did, the chances of getting like a 50K boost or, a big percentage of my salary upgraded is very, very high. So the if you think you're scared of going into a corporation and staying there for 30 years and it's soul sucking and your boss is horrible, like that's not always the case. You can find some great places to work and do your research. You can ask people. I get people who on LinkedIn message me and say, hey, it's a great place to work, like I'm getting interviewed here, and I give them my opinions and they can go from there. And you can do your research and find out before you step foot in a certain place. So
Yeah. And just for people like us, like you and I, who kind of get bored after some time doing one type of job, if we were to be in a 9 to 5, what would you tell that person if a person is getting discouraged trying to go from one job to the other and always getting bored from like job hopping? Okay, but they know they want to start a business. What would you tell them? What kind of advice would you give them so they stop with the negative mindset, let's say?
yeah, I mean, if you're hopping from job to job, then um, you're probably doing something right because you're learning enough at one place to go to another and increasing your salary every single time. It takes a lot of work to do that because when you change, you're not always guaranteeing that you're going to have a good boss. You're not always guaranteeing that you're going to like or mesh with the people, the new people you're working with. So that's a lot of emotional currency, physical currency that goes into that, interviewing for the jobs, etc. It's not as easy. But if you're doing that, then you clearly have a lot of energy. That's one. But if you have something you're interested in doing on the side, I'd recommend doing it on the side. That's kind of where I'm getting at. Especially if you have your position in a way that is kind of more automated. You can do it by like the snap of your finger. You could do it in your sleep. If you're already at that level in your career, and you've delegated it out enough times to where you're not doing the mundane, like smaller work, which is a great thing, by the way, then I encourage you to start doing whatever you're interested in on the side, in the evenings, on the weekends, talking to the people who are actually doing it, asking them if you could spend 2 or 3 hours on the weekend working with them, helping them with something. You could do that for a few weeks and realize, oh, this is not for me. Or you can realize, wow, this person's amazing. I want to be a business partner with this person. Or they can refer me to someone else they know in the industry. There's so many doors you can open by just taking, just a little bit of your time on the side to do enough research to know. But if you don't do that, you'll never know. So I recommend just trying. You can't go wrong with trying.
That's exactly how I went from being an employee to self-employed. That's how I started my freelancing with styling and everything. I just messaged a bunch of people like, hey, can I come help you on set? Can I do this? Like, of course, they're going to say yes to voluntary help.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly how you'll learn that, one, you could work for yourself, and two, if that field is right for you.
And there's so many people who initially did that. They said, can I work for you for free? And they added so much value to the place they were working for, interning for, that place was like, please don't leave. We will pay you whatever you want. So we will pay you, or we'll pay you this amount, some amount that maybe you never dreamed of. And you say, wow, incredible, because you added enough value to be worth that much. So yeah, that's awesome that you did that.
Let's go more into this financial side. I know you love talking finances. And so do I. Everyone knows that. When it comes to finances, what do you wish you were taught earlier on?
About investment strategy, because of course, saving is obvious. Not spending your money on stupid things, obvious. Um, Not living out of your means, obvious. I was pretty good at that, but then once you have enough money to perhaps play around with, I was never taught where I could really put that money. Real estate was always a safe investment, etc. But there's a lot of great opportunities. Like I know groups of people who are starting a business who, maybe if you're interested enough, you can say, I want to invest in your company. I have, this much, even if I lose it, it won't be a big deal. Can I, own 5% at 5% of it? And so there's a lot of amazing investment opportunities out there that are going to give you a way bigger return on some traditional ways. And that was never really talked about when I was younger. So I wish that was the case. And then obviously growing up in our education system, the lack of financial literacy is so sad. The lack of financial education is absolutely horrifying. Like I know for a fact my kids are going to be enrolled in some kind of school, whether it's sitting with me and my future husband for like 30 minutes every Wednesday night or something to talk about that. It's definitely gonna be a topic of conversation for my future children. So I can't believe how dismissed that was growing up.
I actually took an elective course for the extra credits, and it was called Personal Finances in university. And
Wow.
it was only an online course, okay? So first you had to do a lot of digging to find this course. Not a lot of people knew about it. And it was just like a PDF file of the manual, and you had to read through the chapters and figure it out yourself.
Oh my gosh.
The professor had pre-recorded videos sort of explaining it, not really. It was extremely hard, and the final conversation was only about investing in mutual funds and that sort of thing through banks, of course. And that's how I started in my investing journey, and then eventually found out mutual funds is not for me. So now, okay, what do I do?
Still, at least you ruled out something that you're not interested in, and at least there was a class. Maybe if I looked hard enough, there was at my university, but
I'm pretty sure there is, because if they have like a finance, especially if it's a business school, because I went to a business school, they have a finance department. They definitely have a course on personal finance, for sure, for sure, for sure. But how good it is, how good it is,
questionable.
yeah, very questionable. Actually, a hint to everyone, Anna, I'm going to be hosting another series where we do money talks. So I would love to have you then too, and maybe we'll get into this.
Absolutely, would love to.
What's your daily routine like right now?
Being in sweatpants. No, I'm kidding. It kind of is, but so my routine that I've had to adjust, and again, you're going to hear a lot about this, and what I'm doing is talking to the audience. Obviously, you're going to hear a lot about this kind of routine, that kind of routine, and what I want to say before I tell you my routine is that not everyone's routine is going to work for you. So, and even if you do it for a few days and think this is not for me, I can't keep this up, then tweak it to whatever you want to do. And then you're going to be able to hit that every single time, and start off small. Like, you hear Elon Musk wakes up at 5 in the morning and does this and that by the time 7 a.m. rolls around, and you're like, I have to do that. And you do it for 2 days and it doesn't work. And you're like, I give up. That definitely don't do that. Do it in small increments. So with my little pitch there being done, my personal routine is I'll wake up and do the whole wash my face, brush my teeth, etc. And I do a little small mini workout that I call like the 10-minute fiasco or something. So it's 3 things that I do just to get warmed up, because I do not have the energy, the fun, whatever, to do a full-on workout in the morning. I don't have time to wash my hair and do all the girl things, all the lotioning. No. So but I do want to do something to just warm up and burn just a few calories, get the blood flowing. So I do 100 jumping jacks, 100 sit-ups, and 100 either where you put up your pelvic, area.
Bridge.
Basically squats. Yeah, there you go. Or squats. So
that's 100 more of everything than I do.
so then you just count 100 for each one. And if you count it up, it's only a few minutes. Like it only takes you a few minutes. So I try to do that. If I get bored with one, or if I'm really sore in the booty from the day before, 2 days before, I'll do something else, as long as it's just 100, 100, 100. So do like the 300. That's what I call it, the 300. And then I move on to what I need to do. So tiny little workout. You start off small. You could do 10 reps of each, or weights, for example, to just make it exciting. I don't even sweat, and then I move on with my day. Obviously coffee, always. And then I get started with work. Work takes up, of course, a lot of time, but I'm always doing research. So part of my routine is always learning. People think that if you're not in college, you're not learning. That's completely untrue. There's always so many things there's always so much to learn out there, and there's a wealth of knowledge that's at your fingertips, like your podcast, for example. So many great things that people can learn from just watching YouTube. Yes. And just listening. I have a lot of tasks that I have to do when I'm not in meetings, and I just listen to podcasts, Clubhouse conversations, for example, that are happening. Listen to those. And just researching things like passive income sources. And the more you research and the more you learn, obviously, the more opportunities you're going to create yourself. So I'm always researching, and every day MLS is on my list, like what new houses are coming to market. That's always on my routine as well. But every day I just set out to just learn something, not because I'm like, I have to learn something today, but because I truly just want to, and that makes me happier. And then also, one other thing I'll say before I ramble, I do some kind of creative outlet, and I have quite a few. I do love writing. I love writing poetry, and I'll go more into that perhaps, talking about extracurricular activities. I love writing poetry. I love creating music. So I never liked playing other people's music when I was younger. That was never why I loved the piano. It was always trying to create my own. But that's like a form of therapy for me. I love sitting on the piano and getting out whatever frustrations or emotions are bubbling up inside. So having a creative outlet is another part of the routine that I probably love the most. So I'd say those things. And obviously getting a full workout in throughout the week, and trying to go outside for like hikes and things like that. Those are like the top.
Wow. Beautiful. I loved it. I need to like copy paste it. And actually we went through Clubhouse. Had Clubhouse not existed, like
I've never met you.
It's like bringing the Armenian community even closer than we are. Yeah, it was amazing to connect with you through that. Like how weird, and so many other people who are reaching out to me. We'll probably hear from them too soon. Yeah, love that. And so kind of let's get into that. What kind of reading do you do? Like you mentioned a few, but do you read books? And if so, which book would you recommend to our viewers?
Yes. So people might hate me when I say this, but I don't really read. I don't really like to. I'm always read so much during school, and I did really well academic wise. I'll say that. But I feel like it takes too much physical currency, physical, emotional, mental currency to read. There are amazing books out there, but my form that's worked for me, and again, you have to figure out what works for you. What maybe they're saying, read 5 books a day, and some people might thrive doing that, or 5 books a week, whatever. But and maybe for you, something else works for you. For me, podcasts and listening have always worked really well. And so ever since I started at corporate too, every day I'd put on like Coursera. Coursera is a free website with professors from Stanford, Harvard, Columbia, who offer free classes. So when I started into the working world, for example, I wanted to brush up on some of my Excel skills. I knew there were a bunch of shortcuts that I just didn't know that would reduce my time. So I would go on Coursera and learn. Now, this one does require you to stare and watch and listen. But I knew I needed to do, I needed to fill in the gaps to a few places. But other than that, again, it's a lot of listening. So throughout the day, you'll find yourself cleaning the house or on a commute. Some of these commutes are like 2 hours long. And during those times where you're physically in a situation where you can't be reading a book, I'm always listening to something. I would used to do this with my UCLA classes because I hated reading the textbooks. I had to, but skim the textbooks, but I would record the class. And then on my routes back to OC, I would just continually listen. And then I would ace the exams because that's just how I worked in retaining the information. So that 1 hour drive to back to OC, that would have been doing nothing. I just listened to the class over again and captured the information better. So I recommend, if maybe, you've tried over and over again to read and it's just not your thing, because you have to be staring at the page. You have to be in a location that's quiet. You have to be physically still. You have to read. You have to integrate that knowledge and then absorb it. Again, it's just a lot of currency for me when I could be doing a few more things at the same time. So that's one thing, but there are amazing amount of books. And when I do read, I like to read for entertainment. And my forms of entertainment are like Shakespeare sonnets or poems and things like that. Like a quick read, a few pages I can open up, and or novels sometimes for fun. But reading, that's kind of my jam. It's just for entertainment.
Nice. And I'm completely different. For comparison reasons, I'm a very visual person. So I need to see the words, I need to see the graphs, and it kind of like, what's the word again? Photographic memory.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, I have a photographic memory, so I absolutely need to see it. When people are talking, I'm talking about a specific paper where words are on it, I'd be like, give me that paper first.
Wow, got it. See, like two
Else I can't
completely
follow.
different ways of absorbing information. You gotta do what works for you.
Exactly, 100%. And so podcasts, Clubhouse, or any other form where audiobooks, it's
Okay.
the book, they're reading it. So there's no excuse into you guys working on your mindset, on your personal growth. There's everything out there for all kinds of people. Awesome. I know I said this earlier too, so you can start thinking about it. What is the best advice you've ever been given?
To try. So, and I give this to other people too, because the moments where I failed the most was when I wasn't trying anything, when I was just comfortable in what I was doing. The times where I actually succeeded the most was when I failed. And let me elaborate. I failed because I tried so many things, and you're gonna fail at some of them. Some of them aren't gonna work out for you, but even trying them and failing, you learn so much, first of all. Second of all, you may have met someone during the process that could give you a different opportunity, that could recommend a different opportunity, or when you are in a different opportunity, recommend you for something else. And you just open up a lot of doors. So when I applied for that startup program, I had done a few other things that I had failed at. I had applied other places and had gotten rejected. And people love hearing, oh, you won this, or you got to do this. And they never hear about all the other times that I completely didn't work out for me. So just try. The worst that can happen is you use up a little bit of your time. Well, we got quite a bit of that now, especially if you're working from home. And what would you be doing otherwise? Like, ask yourself, what would I be doing otherwise? If I'm going to watch this movie on Netflix, maybe I could apply to a few programs or email a few people. Like, maybe you're interested in getting into real estate. Maybe I could, email a few realtors and ask them if I could sit in with them and do a few things for them for free. So just try. That's all I'm saying. That's probably the biggest piece of advice that I've gotten.
Wow, 100% agree. There's even books on failing towards success. One of them is called Failing Forward, uh, which basically means that you need to go through these phases of failure to get to where you want to be and like actually excel in what you want to do. So yes, best advice: try, fail, learn, grow.
Exactly. Yeah, like one failure I'm trying to remember, and I'm trying to go back to college because that was like the probably the biggest learning curve. And I know a lot of people who are listening to this are probably younger women who are interested in learning what to do, and I'm trying to give as many gems as I can. But I applied, for example, to be a speaker for UCLA graduation, and I got like a finalist, but then I didn't get it. And I was like completely destroyed from it. But I went on the page that had all these other opportunities. And that's how I found the startup program thing. So I would have never found it, but I was so distraught that I didn't get it because another one of my friends at a different university, he got selected to be a speaker for his graduation ceremony. And I felt so failed. I felt horrible about myself. I worked so hard on the speech. I practiced it, and I think the motivation came from the fact that I worked so hard and it didn't work out. I better find something else that's going to work out. So if I failed at this, there's got to be something else out there. I'm going to just try again. And I went back to that page for a few more opportunities and ended up finding that one. And I would have never probably found it unless I'd failed at something else.
Wow. Crazy how different things bring us to where we are today. And like you would never have assumed that's how you would get here.
Absolutely. No, totally agree.
Also, you had told me that you're thinking about starting another business. Maybe it's time for you to move on from your current position. So tell us, is there something startup coming soon? What's next?
So there's a few things I'm interested in. Like I said, I have a few friends who are working on awesome startups that I'd like to be kind of, I guess, a consultant on. But something I'm doing that I absolutely love and I'm passionate about is, again, writing poetry. So I'd like to have a collection, essentially a poetry book collection. And it'd be a series, and every poetry book would represent something else. One of them I do want to be about Armenia, the pain, the struggles that our people have endured, especially this last year. So I'd I'd like to have this series and then just establish a platform where young women or women alike can come together and just create a network, because networking has been something that I feel like I could have utilized more. And Clubhouse is showing me how much I can utilize networking, especially finding someone like you, which is awesome. So I'd like to create some place where women can network and have poetry books. I think this is my outlet that I absolutely love, and I'd love to share it with other people. And I've kept it hidden for so long because I just never was one of those people who wanted to share pieces of me. I like something so concrete like Aerospace, because there's no, real movement. It's like this either works or it doesn't. This antenna fits on the submarine or it doesn't. But I love the flexibility of poetry. So one of them also would be about growth, about friendships, about love, etc., and all the things I've learned along the way. So I'd love to share that with others. So when I do publish it, I want to publish the first book of the series this year. I'll definitely let you know, and maybe we could discuss it.
Yes, for sure. I'll be your first customer.
It's funny that a person who said that doesn't really like reading books, except poetry books, is publishing a poetry book. Horrible selling of that.
Uh, no. So we're kind of at the end now, guys. We've heard so much from Anna, and she's given us so much wisdom. Anna, is there anything else you'd like to add today?
I want to say, if you have any questions, please let me know. Please let, I'm sure you're taking questions too, but I would love to give out as much advice as possible. Some professors have had me come back to their classes, and I get so excited to talk about the things that went right for me and the things that went wrong for me and all the stuff in between. And I have quite a few really funny stories, horrible stories, funny stories. So please reach out. Don't be shy. I was pretty shy when I was younger. I didn't want to make myself vulnerable because I felt like asking a question meant I was dumb. If I asked a question, that meant that I didn't know something. But put the ego aside, ask the question, and I'm happy to be a resource to anyone for anything. So that's something I definitely open up to. I
So
hope you get something from anything I've said, and hopefully I could be a help to the Armenian community in some way.
yes. So where can we reach you?
By email. You could also DM me on my Instagram. It's Anna, ANNA _ LYAN. And my email, I could provide to you, Anna Sakzlyan @gmail.com, but my last name's a little odd to spell, so I'm sure you could put that possibly.
Okay, yeah, we'll put it in the description box below. So this is not the ending, you guys. We're going to hear so much more from Anna, I'm pretty sure, in the future. We're waiting for all the greatness you have to give and cheering you on, Anna. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
I had an amazing time. So many golden nuggets. I hope you guys got all of them. Let me know what were your favorite takeaways in the comments below. So if you got any value, also share it with your friends because we love sharing knowledge. Thank you so much again, Anna, for joining us. Everybody else, have a great weekend. Bye.